This is our ethics dialogue presentation. We are Group B2. I'm Destiny Carter, and this is Melanie Rivers. Our ethical dilemma dealt with a young student who has stated she is pregnant and is seeking services and assistance from you as the school social worker. However, she has asked that while she receives your services and assistance, that you not write anything down she discusses or speak to her parents until she has made the final decision. Things to consider are age of the minor, minor's custodians, NASW ethical code, school policy, and state and federal laws. For this presentation, we have chosen our teenager to be 16 years old.
So with the NASW Code of Ethics, the conflicting values are values within service, dignity and worth of the person, the importance of human relationships, and integrity. Service and dignity and worth of the person is the first conflicting value. First, it must be decided if the minor is the client or if parents have rights to this information. The age of the child must be considered, as well as state and federal laws regarding a minor's health information with their custodians. As a social worker, it is important to help and provide resources to our client. Importance of relationships is next. It is important to engage the minor in her decision making. It is also conflicting with the relationship between the social worker and parents of the minor. The parents, if they found out that the social worker had prior knowledge, they may feel betrayed in their relationship with the social worker. Next is integrity. A social worker is to be ethical and trustworthy. In this case, the student is asking for you, the social worker, to be trusted with her secret until she is ready to share with her parents. Her parents could find the social worker as untrustworthy because the social worker did not disclose information about their child to them.
Solving this ethical dilemma. First, you have to think about who can be affected by this decision. The following can be affected: Cindy, her parents, father of the unborn child, and school personnel and policy. Cindy is the minor seeking services and has requested for no documentation due to her parents' reaction to the pregnancy. Cindy's parents are affected because Cindy is their child and they're the legal custodian who would like access about their own minor. The father of the unborn child is affected because decisions are being made about his child without his consent or knowledge. School personnel and policy is affected because as the school social worker, employment infractions or termination could ensue depending on the decision if work policy is not followed.
So solving this ethical dilemma. So when solving this ethical dilemma, first, you can look at if engaging with the minor about her decision and resources for the pregnancy without documenting these sessions. So the pros of that would be privacy and confidentiality. Cindy would know that everything that she discussed with the social worker would be private and confidential, and there is no risk of her parents finding out through accessing her school records. Commitment to the client would be the next pro. By the social worker doing as Cindy requested, she's showing commitment to what Cindy is wanting. Self-determination, because Cindy has decided on what she would like to do while she is debating on what she's going to do about her pregnancy. And the importance of human relationship. So the importance of this relationship between the social worker and Cindy so that Cindy can trust the social worker throughout their professional relationship. The cons would be a commitment to employers. By the social worker deciding to not document, she is at risk of not following policies that have been placed for the school. Client records, by her not documenting anything that happens between her and Cindy. If you didn't document it, it doesn't happen. Therefore, there will be no documentation or evidence that Cindy and the social worker had any type of sessions. The integrity of the profession is next. And by not documenting, the social worker is putting the integrity of the entire social work profession at risk. Next, poor relationships with the custodian. If the parents discover that the social worker knew about Cindy's pregnancy, there was no documentation, then the custodians now do not trust the social worker and the care that she's given to Cindy. Next, engage with the minor about her decision and resources for her pregnancy, as well as documenting the sessions. So the pros for documenting the sessions would be, first, informed consent. Before their session started and they just developed this professional relationship, Cindy and her parents would have signed an informed consent that would have discussed how documentation was to be held, was to be taken, and how it would be held in possession of the social worker. And they would talk about discussing confidentiality. Next, the Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act, also called FERPA, is the federal law that states that all documentation concerning social workers and school counselors will be in the sole possession of the creator. So she would not be at risk of that information being put in her school records. Next is competence. The social worker would show that she is competent in the information as well as in her career, and making sure that everything is taken care of and is created and held the way in which it's supposed to be. And next is the integrity of the profession. So by the social worker being able to keep the records, create the records, and put them where they're supposed to be, she is keeping the social work profession and the code of ethics in high value. However, the cons of her documenting would be that there is a risk that Cindy would not trust the social worker and Cindy could terminate services.
Our ethical decision. Due to the NASW Code of Ethics and school policy, it is necessary to document the session and services provided to Cindy, since this is an integral part of being a social worker. And as Ms. Rivers stated earlier, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. And this just keeps the child safe, the social worker safe, and the school safe from any type of infraction. Per FERPA, documentation can be limited to the observations and assessment of the school social worker, thus keeping confidentiality for Cindy upheld as well as the integrity of the social worker. If Cindy has stated she doesn't want her parents to know at this time, and it is within the state law to do that, the social worker could document the emotions that Cindy is going through and the concerns that she has without directly citing why, thus keeping Cindy's information confidential per request.